So hello, I am Jan at Heritage Public Library, which you all know, and today we are going to be talking about an introduction to Microsoft Word. It is going to be quite introductory, but hopefully you'll learn something you didn't know, because I've done quite a lot of these classes, and usually people say, well, it was something I learned that I didn't know, because probably most of you are familiar with using Microsoft Word. So today's plan, the description, is to learn skills that you need to successfully create, format, and save a basic document in Microsoft Word. And this class is focused on the formatting of your document, not the content of your document. And our first objective is to learn about Microsoft Word. So if you didn't know, Microsoft Word is a computer program, and it's used to type out documents such as letters, resumes, essays, and notices. And the handout that I will send you a link to was typed in Microsoft Word. This is my handout that I didn't send out ahead of time. And if you create a document in Microsoft Word, you have complete control over the content, and you can edit it as you need. And it's easy to print your document or share your document with other people in various ways through email and other things. And if you create your own document, as I said, you have complete control over it. I've helped people in the library with job applications for a long time, and I've had people that somebody else helped them with their resume, and they had a template, and sometimes it's very hard to change the template. It looked good when it was first made, but they needed to change something. They got a new job or did a new class or something, they wanted to put something else in, and it was very hard to change. And occasionally I even had a person who had a resume that was a PDF, and that's basically a picture, a basic PDF. So they had to retype the whole thing to be able to change it. So Microsoft Word's quite powerful like that. You can change things. And so how to get started in Microsoft Word. If you have an icon on your desktop, you can do that. And I can't remember if we have them at the library. That's the other thing I was going to say about Word. Microsoft Word isn't free. You have to pay for it, but it's very, very common. And if you need to use it, you can use it on a library computer anytime the library is open and anytime a computer is available. And at the very moment the library is open, limited hours of the week, and you can come in and use a computer. And certainly typing up a resume on Word is something you could do. And I'll show you how to open it. There's an icon on your desktop, you can do that. And I will have to share my screen. So let's work on sharing my screen. And then I will show you how to open it up. Is it? I don't know. Here we go. Share. Yep, this should be it. Okay, so there is, yep, sharing my screen. So there is a link to the survey at the end. I was going to mention that because of the grant, we're doing surveys for these classes. So there's a, I think it's 7-question survey that I'll send you at the end. If you're able to do that, I would be very grateful. So the either you'll have an icon on your desktop, or you go over to your start menu here at the left, and you find Microsoft Word and hit open it. And I will scroll all the way down through all of this to W for Word. And there it is. Here, opening. And my computer's a little slow, so we'll have to forgive me for it sits there and spins. So there's Microsoft Word opening. And another thing I didn't mention about Microsoft Word is it's been around for quite a while, and they keep updating it. So there are quite a lot of different versions of it, and usually they are quite compatible. It might pop up with a little box saying when you've got a document from someone else that this document is an older version or a newer version, and you're going to have little changes. I have never seen changes be very important in that case. So even if your screen in Microsoft Word doesn't look exactly like mine, it should look something similar. And this is a little problem because the things at the top are all hidden because of the stuff for Zoom. But anyway, so as you've probably all done, you open up a Microsoft Word document and you just start typing. Oops. And I always have problem typing in front of people. I can usually type quite fast. So you need some text in here, and then you can do all sorts of things with it. So you can't see, let me see if I can make this a little smaller so we can see it. No, it's not going to work. Yeah, the next thing I'm going to talk about is saving your document, which is really important. Because if I just close this and don't save it, I won't be able to come back to it and change it. And I said it's important in Microsoft Word to be able to come and change it and update it and keep your document and use it later. So at the moment, which I can't see because it's under the Zoom stuff, is this is called document 1 probably. So what we need to do is save it, and saving has several components, because you have to save it with a name, which is not document 1, because if you have document 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it's not very informative. You won't know what the documents have in them. So you have to have a name for it, and you have to put it in a certain place on the computer or somewhere else. So there are 2 ways of saving, and well, there's actually more than 2. A lot of these things is more than one way of doing it, and I'm often going to show you just a few just to stop it being so confusing. But the way I save is I go over to the File menu, and I can come down here, and if you've seen before, there's a Save and a Save As. So when you hit Save the first time like this, it's going to come up with this same menu. And these are the places that I've used recently to put my work in recently. So I've been working on my HPL, Heritage Public Library work, and some classes I've been doing on my resumes, except I spelled the word resume wrong there. I was in a hurry. Okay, so I've got to decide where I'm going to save it. So I want to save it in the grant. I've decided, so I click on that, and I go in, and it's given my document a name, which is the first words of my document, which is the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, which is an interesting name, which isn't a very informative name. So I'm going to rename it. I'm going to call it Practice Word Document, and it's June. It's June 2020. The computer itself does remember the date of when you save something, but I like to put the dates in them so I know, because otherwise I may have lots of documents called Jan resumes called Jan resume, and if I know it's a Jan resume from 2019 or a Jan resume from 2020, it helps me a lot. Okay, and as you can see in this, I didn't put in any special characters. Most file names can't cope with special characters, and sometimes they can't cope with spaces either. So that's why I've squeezed everything up. So there I have saved my document, and I will just do a quick I saved my document. Just quick type that in. Okay, so say, for example, we'll just have to pretend, and we'll have to pretend really hard that this document was my resume, and I applied for a new job, but I wanted to change just a little bit on my resume, but I wanted to keep my old resume the same. What I can do is do a Save As. So I go to File, and I hit Save As, and I can go back there, and I can call this Practice Resume. Oops, June 2020. And what this will do is now, you can't see at the top of the screen, but this document is now called Practice Resume. But Practice Word document still exists. So I now have two documents. I did a save as, and I can get two documents, and I can work on them separately, and I can change them. So one might be my resume for if I was applying for a children's librarian job, or one might be my resume if I was applying an academic library, because I can do those as well. And then the other thing you can do in Save As is you can change the place where you save it. I might want to save it in classes, or you can change the format. So I'll go into HPL Work, which is just another folder I have on my computer, and I might want to change the format, because as I said, Microsoft Word isn't free, but it's common, and it's very common for if you were sending it to someone else, they would have Microsoft Word, but sometimes they don't, or you want to send them a document they can't edit. Word people usually can edit. If you want to send them a PDF, which is like a picture and it's frozen in time, you've got to change the format. So under here it says Save As Type. So you go down, and this is a list. And in this list, I have PDF. So I can save that document as a PDF. And if you're a person that notices details, you can see here the file name at the end of the file name, file extension, I believe it's called, is not say doc, because doc means DOC, means a Word document. This now says PDF, which means it's a picture. And most often people on their own computer can see a PDF, or on their phone, or on their tablet, wherever they are. I think if they were trying to read this on their phone, though, it would be so tiny, it would be really, really difficult. But, so I can save that, or I can cancel that. Okay. And the other thing I was going to say is I have saved these on the hard drive of this computer. Oops, what's happening? Oh, because I saved it as a PDF, it's popping up with all the PDFs I have saved. That's what it's doing. So I'll go back to Word. Oh, there it is. So this looks exactly the same, but this is the PDF, and I cannot type on it. Here I am hitting the keyboard, nothing happens, because this is a picture of my document. It isn't my Word document that I can change. Okay, so I will go back down here and go back to Microsoft Word. And so I've chosen a place to save it, which was those different folders. I've chosen a file format, in this case it's Word, and I've chosen a file name, and I used those two different file names and did a save as. And the other place I've saved this is on the hard drive of this computer. So that's a good starting place to save things, but you have to be careful. If something's really important, you should save it in more than one place. I have actually had my computer got fried by one of the hurricanes around here, and I lost my documents I had, and I was actually job searching at the time. But so what I do then to back it up, there's a couple of things you can do. One is save it on a USB or a thumb drive, and I did have one with me. I'm assuming you all know what they look like. They're little drives you put in the side of the computer. And the library does have a limited number we sell for you to use, or sometimes you can borrow them. Another thing you can do is you can email your document to yourself. And I do that all the time, just so I can save a document and know where it is. Or if I'm traveling, if I'm going from work to home, I can have the document with me. So, and if you want to email yourself, I'm not going to go over that in detail, how to attach a document to an email. You need to save it on this computer and then go from your email to get it. And that'll be another class, because that is a question people ask a lot in the library about how to attach documents, but I won't have time to go over it today. And if you are on a public library computer and you're, say, working on your resume or anything you want to work on, and you think, well, I can save it on the hard drive and come back to it, you can't do that in the public library. So for privacy and security reasons, our public library computers are set up to have a deep freeze, when somebody signs out, everything gets cleared off out of the documents. So it's gone. So it's really important to save it another way if you come into the public library. And the other way you can save a document, and say it's a letter, this might be the way you want to save it or have it, you can of course print it. And again, there's more than one way to print, but the way I do it is go back to the file menu and hit print. And for black and white at the library, it's 15 cents a page to print, and it's $1 a page for color. So we are actually, as I said, we're open now, limited hours. You have to look on our website to see the hours, and you can print in the library. And I know people that have a computer at home but no printer, or the printer's not working, you need to print something. So you can always come into the library to print when we're open. And the other thing that be wanting to do with your document is attach it to a website or an online form. If any of you have done online job applications or sort of government applications for something, they quite often say attach your document here. So again, you have to save your document temporarily on the computer and then attach it. And to attach it to an email or to a job application, you need to know where it is and what it's called. So that's why I went over it, because otherwise you won't be able to find it. You'll be going, there's usually a little button that says browse, something like that, or it's a little paper clip, something like that. It'll take you to your files, and if you don't know what it's called or where it is, you're very unlikely to be able to find it. So that's why it's important to do that. Okay. Okay, so the next thing, the next objective of our class is to learn about finding and correcting mistakes. And I'll type another couple of things so we can see, oops. See what happens. Okay, so it's not doing what it was meant to do. Okay, so you may have already seen, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to skip ahead and just make this all larger. But I'm going to go over making it larger a little bit. I don't know that you can probably read that. So I'll just make it larger so you can see. So you've probably seen this before. If you've used Word at all, you get your red squiggly lines. So your red squiggly lines are a spelling mistake. And WULL isn't a word. So W-U-L-L. So what you can do to correct your word is you can go, well, I know how to spell will, so I can just change it. If you're not sure how it's spelled, or you just want to do it quickly, you can get the machine to change it. So you right click, you put your cursor in the word that you want to change with the red squiggly line, and I'm hoping everyone can see that. Maybe I'll make it even bigger. And then you right click on your mouse, and then it gives you a list of suggestions. Is the word meant to be will or wall? This is all well or wool or dull. And I'm not sure you can understand all those with my accent, but you get the idea. It's all different similar words that they're suggesting it might be. And it was meant to be will, so we can change it to will. And interestingly enough, when I was typing this, I purposely put in 2 spelling mistakes because, of course, this word is meant to be move, not mov. But it's not showing a spelling mistake because mov is actually a word. It is a type of movie file on a computer. That's how I understand it. So that's really something very important to know about editing your Word documents. The red squiggly lines will show spelling mistakes that the dictionary that is in Word recognizes, like Wallace wasn't a word. But if you have misspelled a word, because we will mov on now does not make sense, but it's a word in the dictionary, it won't pick it up. So this is why you have to proofread your work, and proofread it yourself or get someone else to read it, preferably both, proofread it yourself, try and find all the mistakes, and then get someone else who didn't write it to read it, a friend or a family member, to really help you find all those mistakes. And I'm sure most of us have actually seen things like "we will move on now," which doesn't make sense, in a newspaper or a book. It happens sometimes. Even in printed books we have in the library, every now and then there's a spelling mistake or a typo. Okay, and let's see if this one, it's not, I don't know why it's not doing it. Because if you have a grammatical error, it's meant to put in green squiggly lines. And when I was trying it, it worked because oh, there we are. Oh yeah, they are blue to me, not green. I don't know why you have to be outside the line of text. So as you can see, and I'll make these bigger again, that a grammatical error is either, I've seen green was what I was used to, but these are blue. And this shows a grammatical error because I are a good librarian. It's not correct grammar, and it's meant to be is, of course. So again, I can put the cursor in it, I can right click, and it's only given me one choice because the dictionary in Microsoft Word is good enough that it knows the word is meant to be am. I am. And it also pops up when it thinks you need a comma and all sorts of other things. So this can be useful, but if you didn't like it, if you went, actually, I did want it to say you as a good librarian, you can highlight it. You can ignore the blue line, but if it's annoying, you can highlight it and you can ignore it if you want. And the blue line should go away, and it will leave it like that. Okay, and the next thing we're going to talk about is formatting. And I've already done a little bit of formatting because I made this bigger so you could read it properly. And up the top here, where some of it is hidden, there is a lot of basic stuff about formatting. So anything I want to highlight, anything I want to format, I highlight. And then I can make it bold, italics, underline. And if I go, no, I really don't want that bold, italics, or underline, these are toggle buttons, which means you can turn them on and off. You hit them once, they're on, hit them again, they're off. So I hit italics and it's off again, but it's still bold and underlined. I can, and this can be fun because I make a lot of flyers for the library and notices like that. But you can do all sorts of things. You can choose another bit and go, well, I want to make it a different font. So you may be familiar with this, but this is just in case. There's all sorts to make it a different font. I can choose another bit and make it a different color. And if you're working on, I've mentioned resumes, if you're working on a resume, most of this you won't want to do, except if you've got subheadings, you might want to bold it or underline it, but you wouldn't want to make it different colors and stuff like that. Colors, and you can, if you're working on, you want to make something stand out, you can make it highlighted. So there's all sorts of things you can do like that. And as I said, I make flyers. I often use Publisher to make flyers, and at the moment I'm using Google Sheets to make flyers. So there's lots of different ways of doing it. Word is one way, and you can make all sorts of colorful, pretty things. I'll just go over quickly another things you can do. Something I use quite a lot is bulleted lists. So if I want to just make part of it a bulleted list, I go up here, and you're probably familiar with Word, but you might not, you probably can't see this very well. here is my bulleted list. So I'll make it check marks. So we are good librarians. And something just happened there that I haven't mentioned was I typed it in with a small w, and Word automatically corrected it. And sometimes that's good, and sometimes that can be annoying, but you can go back and undo it if you want. So there's my bulleted list, and sometimes I have a sub list I want in my bulleted list. So I can click on this bit, and this up here is increase indent, and then my list goes in. And might be getting too much detail now. It's probably easier when I repeat this class in person later in the year. It might be easier to go into these little details. But at the moment, just look. Oops, I almost switched camera. Look at all these things at the top. You can do a lot with all these things at the top. You can even say, well, this is my headline up here. I want this to be in the middle, and it'll move over. So there's all sorts of things you can do. You can change how far apart your lines are. You can see them actually moving. And the good thing about Word, which I think is since Word 2009, 2010, Word 2010, is it shows you what will happen if you do this. So you can see it actually moving as I try it, which is, you know, good to know. And there's lots of things there. And if I can move this out of the way, I can. So what, say I'm looking at all this and I go, actually, I want, some of it's red, some of it's blue, I want it all to be black. And especially if you have a long document, multiple pages long, you can try highlighting all of it, but in a multiple page document, that's really difficult. So you can go select over here on the right, you can go select all, and then you can make a universal change on all of that. And I can go over here and make it all a different font. And I can go down this list and make it all a different font. So you can see that looks quite different now. Okay, so the next thing I was going to show you is to learn about cut, copy, and paste. And cutting and copying and pasting is really useful for bringing in text or images from another place, or for removing lots of text around within your document. And I think copy and paste might be really good if you, because it's Grant is about medical information, if you find some medical information and you want to make your own document, if the printing document, it does not going to print well, or you don't want all of it, there's various reasons why you might want to have it in a Word document so you can manipulate it. And you may have heard of cut, copy, and paste, and you know on your computer there's a delete button. So the first thing I want to say is that there is a difference between delete and cut. Delete is exactly what it sounds like. You're deleting something permanently and it's gone. And cut is not permanent. You are holding it on something that the computer calls a clipboard. And in my mind, I imagine it as an actual physical clipboard. You have your information, you're holding it on the clipboard, and then you can put it back down somewhere else. And unlike a real clipboard, it's a magical clipboard because you can put it down somewhere else multiple times, not just once. You've magically made lots and lots of copies of it. So there are 4 steps to cutting and copying and pasting, or to copy or paste. And the first one is you tell the computer what you want to cut or copy. And you do that by highlighting it. And there are multiple ways to highlight, and you can't see my hands because I've been highlighting lots here. I use the mouse to highlight, but there are multiple ways to do it. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that because I think it's very confusing, especially when you can't see my hands. So I'm just going to highlight some of it. So you can see it's highlighted here in grey because this yellow here is permanent. And then I've got to decide whether I want to cut or copy it. And there's a couple of ways I'll show you to do this, just two. There are multiple ways to do this as well. One is come up here and you'll see these little icons. You've got the scissors, which are cut, which is kind of a useful, pretty good icon actually. Scissors are cut. There's two little documents here, a copy. So if I cut it, it disappears, but it's different from delete. It's still there. It's still on my clipboard. And there's even a word clipboard here, and you can look at that. We won't look at it today. We won't look at that much detail, but those words I just delete are just disappeared. They look like they deleted. They just disappeared. They're on my clipboard. So my next step, third step, is deciding where I want to put it. So I choose a spot here, put my cursor there, click there, and the last step is to paste it. And I'm just going to hit paste like that up there in the corner. So there, I've moved those words, which it doesn't, the sentence makes no sense at all, but there we are. We are grammatical errors. Okay. And the other thing we can do, so I cut and pasted, and the other thing you can do is copy and paste, and then of course you're making a copy and leaving the other bit behind. And so I'll do that. So I'll highlight first, and then I'm going to show you the other way of doing it. One other way of doing it without using up there is I am going to put my cursor in the middle of the highlighted bit, and I'm going to right click with my mouse, and it'll pop up with these little menus. And yeah, I've helped a lot of people with computer classes, and they say, what happened? Where do these menus pop up? They accidentally right click. So the little menu, you can just go somewhere else in your document and left click and it goes away. But right click on purpose in the middle of the bit you've highlighted and you get the menu. And this time I said I was going to copy. So I will copy that and see it stays there. But if I go down here and I hit paste, it is pasted there. So I'm going to try pasting again and show you one more way to paste. Is that when you try pasting, it's got all these options here, which may be a bit confusing. The first time it's a picture, it comes out exactly the same because it was red. See, my good librarian up the top there was red. Oops, up here. There's no point me pointing to the screen, is there? It's red, and it came out red down here. But I don't want it to be red. I want it to go back to being black. So over here, and I use this quite a lot, it's keep the text only. So I've got the words, and it's the same font as the previous text, but it's gone black. And another thing that cut, copy, paste is really useful for is images. And I'm not going to go a long way into images at the moment, but it's the same basic idea of how to do that. So you would, in an image, sometimes you can't, there's no button up here because you're not in Word, you're in a website or somewhere else. So that's when you've got to know how to do the right click. So well, maybe I'll do that quickly. I'll go to web, oops, go to the internet. Hopefully it's not too slow. I should have had another web browser open. But okay, so I won't show you an image, but that's another class because working with images is a big thing by itself. Because that is a big thing about Microsoft Word is we can't see it most of the time at the top there. There is an awful lot you can do. This is just a little tiny introduction, and you can do all sorts of things. We are on the home menu where you get this cut, copy, paste, and these basic things about bulleted lists and whatever. But there are all these different menus. You click across the top here, and there's all sorts of other things you can do. You can put in page numbers, you can change your pictures, you can do a really long document with your titles all the same. There's all sorts of things you can do, and yeah, we won't have time to go into them today. If anybody is interested in more advanced Microsoft Word classes, let me know and we might be able to do them. And okay, the last thing I was just going to go over is some more resources, and we will have more classes scheduled, but computer help. And as I said, we can do more Microsoft Word ones. This was just a beginning. Some people were very interested in how to put images and manipulate images in Microsoft Word, because this is something they like to do. If they're doing, say, a letter with photos in it for a family, or a school project, something like that. We have books about computers, and I have the Dewey Decimal numbers. I'm not going to read them out because it wouldn't be much point. On my handout, so I will send you the handout after this, and hopefully we'll get it up on our webpage as well. And we also have Digital Learn, or Universal Class, sorry, through the library, which is computer classes. So you'll be able to do computer classes. So that is what I have to say about Microsoft Word today. That was, as I said, a very brief overview. Hopefully there was something in there that you didn't know, because it was a very, yeah, an introduction. As I said, it'll be an introduction. Okay, so I will stop sharing my screen, and then I will go back and I will stop recording. And